In this video, I'd like to introduce the idea of polynomials. Now, these exercises are essentially all about the vocabulary. So we need to understand what is a polynomial, what is standard form, and several other different key words. So let's start with polynomial. And essentially this word can be broken down into two different parts. The root word poly and this end part here, nomial. So poly, when you see that word, you want to either think many or multiple. And then the word nomial essentially is the word for terms or term. So when you see polynomial, you want to think many terms. And again, what is a term? Well, something like 4 is a term, 3x squared, 9x, 7ab cubed. These are all terms. And essentially, it's just an expression where you're not adding or subtracting anything. So if I had something like 4 plus 8x, this would have two terms. And we have different words for two terms or three terms or even one term. And I think it's worth seeing that vocabulary as well. So let me just make just a little bit more room here so that we can continue with this. And let's start with monomial. So let's use white. So monomial. But the word mono is the root word for one. So this just means one term. So something like 3a or 12bc or 9. These are all monomials. And we also have binomials. So think bicycle, meaning two wheels on a bicycle. So binomial just means two terms. So this example over here, 4 plus 8x, that is a binomial. So examples of this, 2 plus x, 9 minus 7a, and so on. It just has two different terms. And we also have trinomial. You can think tricycle, meaning three wheels. So trinomial has three terms. So if you see something like maybe a general quadratic, like 3x squared minus 2x plus 4, that would be a trinomial. So understanding these words will help make the discussion make more sense. So it'll help future lectures make more sense just knowing this vocabulary. Or you often see these words in word problems. So understanding these will also help with different word problems. So let's continue with polynomials. Now we need to understand what is standard form. So we know polynomials just mean many terms. So these three are different examples of polynomials. They each have many terms. Specifically, this is a binomial, this is a trinomial, and again, a binomial. But the monomials, binomials, and trinomials, these are all just specific examples of polynomials. So all three of these we also consider to be polynomials. And even though monomial only has one term, and poly means many, we still do include one-term expressions as polynomials. They're just a special case. So we need to understand what is standard form. And when you write a polynomial, let's say we have f of x, you might see something like 4x cubed minus 9x squared plus 2x plus 7. So this is what we call standard form, where the highest power term is written first. So notice we have the cubic term, the x cubed, then we have the square term, then the linear term, and technically you could even write an x to the 0 here to continue this pattern, since anything to the 0 power is just equal to 1. But usually we don't write that, but it does help extend this pattern. So it's in standard form because the highest power of x is written first. Now, this highest power of x, this is also a key part of our vocabulary, since the number 4 is what we call the leading coefficient. And remember, coefficient is just a complicated word to describe a number multiplied by your variable. So -9, 2, and 7 are all coefficients, but the leading coefficient is the coefficient on the highest power term. So in this case, this would be 4. And you also do have what's called a constant or a constant term. Let me write that down. And the constant term is just the number that you're adding or subtracting at the end. Essentially the one that, if you wanted to, you can multiply by x to the 0, since that's just multiplying by 1, to continue that pattern. So our constant term in this case would be 7. So now let's jump into these problems now that we've finished going over the vocabulary. And we need to determine which of these polynomials are in standard form. So standard form, just remember, is the highest power of x first, or in this case t, and then they go in descending order. And it's okay if things are skipped. Like another example would be g of x is 9x to the 7th minus 2x plus 1. This is still standard form because the highest one is written first and then it goes in descending order. So for instance, a here, it has the highest power first, t to the 4th, and then subtracting 1, that t to the 0 term, and it's okay that everything is missing in between. This is still in standard form because it's highest first and then in descending order. And actually all three of these are written in standard form because in every case the highest one is written first and it goes in this descending order.